Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of the UAMA podcast. In today's episode, we'll be discussing about the merits of Dhikr. Hadrat Akshamsuddin, quddisa sirruhu, the Shaykh of Sultan Mehmed II, the Conqueror, wrote in one of his books. Abdullah bin Abbas radiyallâhu anhumâ once said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assigns certain limitations for each Ibâdah, acts of worship, that He made farz, obligatory. However, He excused those who are unable to fulfill an obligatory deed due to valid reasons. Yet, He did not put any limitations for dhikr or remembrance. He does not excuse anyone for neglecting dhikr except the insane people. It is possible to engage in dhikr in the daytime or at night, on the land and at sea, during travel or when resident, during illness or wellness, at poverty or prosperity, secretly or openly. It can be done at any time in any situation. Dhikrullah, the remembrance of Allah, is the essence of all virtues. Its similitude is like a man pursued by his enemies vigorously. That man comes across a fortress while running away from his enemies, and he shelters in that fortress immediately to save himself. Supporting this meaning, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "So flee to Allah, seek refuge in Him." In other words, a person engaged in dhikrullah has taken shelter under the protection of his Rabb from the evils of his enemies, the Shaitan, and his nafs, his lower self. Dhikr is the polish of the rust in the hearts, and it repels the Shaitan. He approaches people to whisper waswasa into their hearts, and when a servant engages in dhikrullah, he withdraws. If a person abandons dhikr, his heart hardens. In fact, a heart that does not remember Allah becomes harder than a stone. When the nur, the light of dhikr, enters the heart of servants of Allah, they are saved from the evils of their lower selves and carnal desires, and consequently, their heart becomes illuminated and purified. Once the heart is purified, a person busy with dhikrullah will experience in every stage of dhikr a taste similar to the taste of the blessings of Jannah, which no eyes have ever seen, no ears have ever heard of, and no hearts have ever imagined. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "There is a Jannah that Allah has on earth. He who enters it will not yearn even for Jannah al-Firdaus." When he was asked, "O Prophet of Allah, what is that Jannah?" He said, "Love of Allah and contentment of the heart with his Mawla." In a hadith al-Sharif, it is reported that Rasulullah ﷺ said, "Whoever wants to be in the gardens of Jannah, let him remember Allah abundantly." Thank you all so much for listening to today's episode of the UAMA podcast. Our social media links will be in the description below. Until the next episode, Assalamu alaikum.